Welcome back to the Talk Past podcast. I am here with.
I am a weasel loose in the floral border of the Garden of History. Your friendly neighborhood thing, Red Iron Riot, aka the Work Queen.
Friendly something or other. I'm NC. And of course, this time we are going to go over things such as heraldry.
We're talking heraldry, baby.
Coat
One
of
of my
arms.
favorite things.
The whole idea of individuals expressing sort of a signifier of themselves in medieval history.
Well, that's one way to put it. So
self-expression, I guess.
Self-expression. I think so. The first thing I think we need to kind of lay out that is very important thing when talking about heraldry and stuff like that. That there is a difference between decorated shields and devices and actual heraldic devices.
Yes.
It's like if you think about a lot of the shields you saw the Vikings use during our Viking year, they weren't really meant to be any sort of heraldic sort of thing. It's just, hey, I got this cool thing on this shield and I like it, sort of thing.
So heraldry or coat of arms or individual signifiers of knights or fighters or lords or whatever is not necessarily prevalent until about the 1100s. We see some sort of prototype through the Norman years, obviously with painting on shields. Mm-hmm. But I think the actual idea of coat of arms and heraldry doesn't really start popping up until the 1100s. So knights started to paint their armor and their helm because they started wearing plate. They started wearing helms that you could close, you could have open. Basically, you didn't know who was under the mask. So they would paint their armor. Often medieval battlefields weren't really all gray and, knights in shining armor. It was painted. It was colorful. People wearing signifiers of who they are.
So in that vein, doing a little bit of research into this, because while I'm a big fan of just doing heraldry and drawing and looking at cool heraldry,
which we'll get into.
Yeah, one of the apparently like the first definitive like quote unquote example of heraldry comes from Geoffrey Plant. What do you pronounce Plantagenet?
Plants versus Zombies?
No.
Let me look at him.
Geoffrey Plantagenet, the Count of Anjou, from 1155, 1160, because it shows him carrying a shield with golden lions rampant. Let's see what it says. It's an enameled depiction on his tomb shows those lions, and then it just kind of goes from there. And from I think the info is from Woodward and Burnett book. What is that? But basically, it is this is what people point to is like here's the first definitive use of heraldry in medieval Europe, even though as far back as ancient Egypt and Greece, you have the use of decorated shields and banners, and it's actually really neat. I think one of the examples used is like the Lion of Judah being even though it's not technically heraldry, it's more of just because heraldry is a design that's more passed down denotes the individual and passed down through the family.
But yeah,
the idea is there.
It's a signifier. So we should actually probably preface what is heraldry in coat of arms. So obviously heraldry, we kind of went over slightly with some words, is basically an individual signifier of a person. It's something that identifies a knight or lord or whomever as that person, whatever their symbol, color, etc., whatever, that is who they are. That is their, effectively the common term, coat of arms.
You see that on the field, hey, Lord so-and-so is the one on the field today.
Lord Bibbidi Bop, wearing his black and yellow. He's got his lion. We know he's going to mess some Normans up, except there weren't any Normans back then, but Norman Rockwell, perhaps. But Yeah, no. So a coat of arms is definitely something that was an individual's symbol, and it was not something that any other person could have. You could not have uh, John, who wore a lion and red and yellow. You could not have his heraldry, his coat of arms, but he could pass it down to his firstborn son, and his son could modify it to signify him. But no one else in the family or no other individual could be using that specific signifier, unless you were using the colors. You were part of his house. You were part of his the Lord's personage. You could wear their colors, but often the coat of arms was very specific to an individual.
Well, so the example right now I have is only pursuant to England in their thing with coat of arms. Apparently, what is that? Henry V had to issue a proclamation in 1419. It's like unless you had a coat of arms at the Battle of Agincourt, you're not allowed to assume what the term is assume arms, unless the crown says you're good for it, or you inherit it.
Exactly. There are a lot of rules and restrictions, regulations in regards to obtaining an official heraldry and coat of arms, which
At
is
least
glossing over my head, so I might not be able to go over that. But
yeah, it seems a lot.
Yeah, and it's still there is today. You can have an official coat of arms even today, whether it's in England. I don't think there's any specific rule in the United States where we are.
I don't believe so. I think it falls under like Creative Commons and personal use sort of stuff. Like, but it's not in Europe. There's various European colleges. It's like you have to register this coat of arms. It can't, you can't have the same coat of arms as this person, et cetera, et cetera.
You can't look up your family name, say it's Moore, Moore, it's a common British name, and be like, that coat of arms, I can use that. Well, no, you need to have your own individual. So, of course, the channel has a coat of arms as its symbol. It's just a shield, your typical shield with a bend.
Actually, let me look at that real quick. Hold on. So the shape of the shield isn't super important for just displaying the coat of arms, unless it really is. One of the only differences that we see is when it comes to women displaying a coat of arms. So the coat of arms that you use for the podcast and the medieval content channel, it is you don't really have a color, so we're not going to worry about color. Let's see. I'm going to pop open DrawNet.
I guess maybe if you're going to put a color on Twitch, if you once I'm able to get a PC and can stream some medieval games, either myself or some of us, or also at the end of videos, you see my Twitch notification, which pops up as just the ending icon. There's really no relevance to it. It's gold. So I guess if anything, perhaps gold. So it's just a bend, which is what is called a heraldic ordinary bend or diagonal stripe, and it is a heater shield from, of course, 1500s, and that's the channel.
So, question: Is it a bend or is it a bend sinister? Because for the podcast you have it going sinister. For the Minecraft you have it going Dexter.
I do like the show Dexter, but whatever I have it currently on the channel at the moment, as opposed to the Minecraft one, I know it kind of reversed angles there, but whatever I've been using now is how it's going to be.
All right, so that technically is a bend sinister. So what color is that bend?
On the notification, it's gold. I know. Actually, let's go ahead and digress into what should be on a shield, or what should be on the coat or heraldry, because that'll.
Well, before we do that, let's go into the terms a little bit more, because there's definitely a lot of terms. So as I said, the first term you really have to concern yourself with is the field, and that is the base color, and it's not just it can be not just a single color. And also the terms are going to be really weird because they're kind of French, they're kind of Latin. It's not more specifically French, but it sounds a lot like French. It's some French. So in the blazon, which is as the verbal description of the arms, we're talking about the field. It can be one of the colors. And now, like Dungeons and Dragons, there's a difference between straight up colors and the metal colors. So for the metals, you have gold or silver, or that's actually little side note, a funny joke. If I say to you, azure, 3 wheat sheaves, or what? That's bad. I love it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, the ordinary colors: red or jewels, blue, azure, green, vert, black, sable, purple, purpur. Then you get your metals, as you mentioned, gold or silver, argent, or otherwise yellow and white. And then it also, on the field, you can have fur.
Yeah, the furs are wild. They go.
Yeah, there's a lot, but specifically like ermine, which is a white winter fur. There's also there, which is squirrel skins.
So one of the big rules of heraldry is like they'll always tell you is that you're not supposed to put a metal on a metal or a color on a color.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a little weird. But this is just rules as they applied to medieval heraldry.
Yeah, there's a lot of modern heraldry, which I won't really cover much. But I mean, effectively, it's anything goes at this point.
Brain zoot.
So we had a field, which are our base colors, and then beyond that, of course, you've got your ordinaries, the heraldic ordinaries,
and those are the things like the bends, the saltier, the chevron.
That's a fess, which is just a horizontal stripe, a pole, which is not for dancing; it's just a vertical stripe. Bend, diagonal stripe. A chevron, which is like a house gable. It's basically just a triangle, right?
Right.
2 bends meeting in the center, basically.
Well, I would say it's not just straight up a triangle. It's actually still used a lot today in military applications.
Yes.
You'll see the chevron used as signifiers of rank.
Mm-hmm. You've got a cross. It's obvious.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Cross inverted. No, not inverted, but a diagonal.
That's called a saltier.
Which is St. Andrew's cross. Chief, which is just a bar across the top. You know, the flat edge of a heater. And then there's a border, which is obviously someone went into Photoshop, put stroke, set it to 10, put a border inside the shield. And then, of course, you've got your inverted triangle, which is a pile.
Yep. And then did you mention the pall? Or did I miss that?
The what?
Pall, Pall. It is a Y shape with the.
I did not.
It's basically a Y shape. Then that's the. Those are just the regular ordinaries. There's also sub-ordinaries. It's just wild.
There's like waves. There's 2 stripes. There's 2 chevrons. There's half of things because you can quarter it. You can half it. There's a wide variety of ways you can make a coat of arms or heraldry, etc., etc. But also there's the heraldic charges.
Mm-hmm. Well, the charges are a whole separate thing because the ordinaries are just divisions of the field almost.
Yeah.
The charges are the actual. I want to say. Let's see. Let's get a good description here. Where's the actual? Oh man, I'm sorry. I just had a crash. My brain just crashed. Okay, so the charges are like the actual objects in the heraldry, and the term for it is like the field is set to be charged with an object. So if I say something like, let me create a random blazon, see what it's. Just give me a random. Just give me a random. Come on. Like if it says on a shield, it says a dove volent azure. That field is charged with this dove, as an example.
I mean, there's crosses, stars, rings, balls, crescents, diamonds, flowers, diamond hands for Doge. Got a hold.
Got a hold. Oh man, what a wild week that was. That was just last week.
Yeah, it's been a year already.
Oh boy. Yeah, no, I definitely recommend looking at Draw Shield for just getting, fidgeting around with this. But yeah, the charges are the objects in the heraldry that everybody, like, example, Game of Thrones, the charge for the Starks would have been the dire wolf. Would have been the lion for the Lannisters.
Yeah, those are animal charges. Typically you would see a lion or an eagle, sometimes rearing up or standing for birds. It's either wings are outstretched, displayed, or walking along like a thing.
Well, that's specific terms for that, especially when it comes like the difference between charges for birds and charges for animals like lions and stags.
Yep, and they all had different meanings too. Like lions or bravery.
Yep.
Dogs were faithfulness and reliability. Stags, wisdom and long life. Eagles, of course, power and ability. Hares, rabbits, were for speed. And badgers, of course, were for not giving a shit.
Honey badger don't care.
Or endurance and hanging on. So, of course, they're also not just your normal animals, but you had fabulous beasts, like a dragon, griffin, cockatrice, or a manticore, or man tiger, or man bear pig, which is super cereal here in the United States.
One of my favorite heraldic charges are medieval dolphins, because they are so honkin' weird.
Dolphins themselves are honkin' weird.
They are, but oh man, let me so this is again from heraldicart.org, which is a great reference site for just medieval charges. We're gonna put this. I'm gonna toss this in the production room. Just so weird, but I love it.
Yeah, there's a lot of this. We need to do another podcast regarding medieval art in itself, because medieval art was bad.
What was it talking about? We were talking about oh man. No, it is, but it's bad. It's good. It's so good. It's bad. It's like
there's a whole subreddit devoted to medieval cats. And it's just the worst.
Not surprised.
Thing ever.
It's like how a lot of people think that the questing beast from Arthurian lore was just a giraffe.
Yeah. But not to sidetrack, of course. That'll be another podcast. But
heard the cats, baby.
Yeah. So I mean, the channel is just a field and an ordinary, a bend and
the bend sinister.
Whatever the heck the field is. So that's why it's not. That's why it doesn't have as much detail, because it literally is just a letter on the keyboard that I'm pressing. It comes up as what it is. Myself, however. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, go ahead, because I was gonna give like what's after the charge. But
I don't have
that. So after the charge, you go ahead with what you were saying. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. Myself, if I were to come up with a heraldry or a coat of arms for myself, I'd probably do. I think I have before. There was a heraldry creator for Game of Thrones, and I'm not going to be able to find the image, but I have it in mind. But my colors were. Go ahead.
While you do that, I'm gonna play on Draw a Shield, and we're gonna see if we can draw the shield for you.
Yeah. So it's a half and half for the field.
So the division.
Yep, it's black and pink.
When we talk about just the field, first off, there's a lot of divisions of the field, and that's when you have stuff like per bend, where it is divided in half from left to right, up to down.
Yeah, left to right.
So just left to right, up to diagonally, or Straight up and
Just
down.
straight down. Just straight up and down. No, straight
All right.
left and right. You know what I mean.
Yeah. All right. So what was the left side?
Black.
Was the black was sable? Okay. And then you said the right side was pink.
Pink. Mm-hmm.
So the color that would be rose.
Yeah.
So we already have for this purple, sable, and rose.
Right.
So now we get the tricky part. Is there an ordinary or is it just charges?
There is not an ordinary. I would not do an ordinary. Usually when I think of it, I'm trying to find the Game of Thrones one that I did a long time ago, but it's just the black, the pink, and obviously it's pink. It's a Game of Thrones site, so you can use that whatever color. But
Right.
it's basically just a star or a moon or something cosmic, usually a star or a moon in white at the center. And that's
Okay.
it.
So that would be either in nominal or I think that or just normal location. If it's a normal location, there's not a definitive. And nominal is a little bit. So you said it's a star or crescent moon.
Yeah, normally it's just a crescent moon.
Facing left or right.
The points would be facing left.
All right, moon iridescent. And so there's also all kinds of orientations that you do with the shield, or do with the charges on the field. It kind of goes from bendwise to palewise, which is basically from pointing up to the left to pointing down. Off of it's really fun. All right, so and then you said it was white, or is it just
white?
Just white. All right, so all right.
Probably breaks all the rules, but
Yeah, you get rules for medieval heraldry, which there was a lot and there was enough that it was an actual occupation for somebody.
Heralds.
Yep. And also, I'm gonna do this, and you can tell me if this is close to what you like. This is what I said. My one problem with this website is that the sizing on the charges gets really weird. Whoop, whoop, boosh.
I mean, pretty much, yeah, exactly.
Yep. So we would describe that as purple, sable, and rose, a moon, increscent white.
Mm-hmm. And actually, to go into that very quickly, so when you were back in medieval period, when you were trying to establish your coat of arms or heraldry to another lord or city town that you were traveling to, or just sending a message, and you wanted to indicate who this message was from, normally, now you would have your wax seal, that would be your symbol.
Right.
But inside, in the letter, it would often be described, the heraldry, as opposed to drawn, because sometimes you might have something that could be misinterpreted. However, if you described, we'll use England, which is red field and 3 lions, then the person describing it or drawing it or doing relaying that information could do it in their style, but no matter what, it is the same exact thing, and you would always know exactly who it was by the description. So as opposed to drawing it, they would often describe their coat of arms in the best way to convey that information.
Right. So hold on, I'm putting together the one. If you recall, I sent you the one I used when I was at my friend's wedding, which there is not really a specific term for the lion the lion used, although from what I understand, it's the Lion of Saint Mark.
Now, of course, yours is actually on the podcast page that people are seeing at the moment, because that's what you sent me. That's your profile photo, I presume, is what you're talking about.
That's so. One of the I want to say one of the strengths about modern heraldry is that you can kind of change it at the whim of what you like. And the one that is in you specific is the winged lion on the red and blue. It's kind of one I've used for a little while, but it has a lot of stuff's changed, and I change thoughts about what I want to use for stuff and whatnot. Let me see here. So default orientation. but it is one of the shield, one of the pieces of heraldry I've used in the past. For a while, I enjoy Warhammer, I enjoy Bretonians, and one day they will come back and it will be beautiful. For a while, there used to be a Bretonian fan site called the Roundtable Bretonia, and keeping in theme with the faction, all the users could, for their profile image, a lot of users used a piece of heraldry. So I used something much similar to that. It was I'll have to actually do the thing. It was a similar line. I like the lion Sajant, which is that image where the sitting lion. I don't know why I like it. I just like it. It kind of vibes right.
Yeah.
You know?
There is a physical representation on the screen, of course, but describe yours in terms of that. I know you kind of went into a deep dive there, but the basic description so people can kind of understand it.
Okay, so the current shield I am using, and it's still kind of tweaking. It is per saltier or en ghouls, a saltier and grailed azure, in middle base a rose ghouls, a lion Sajant or. So I will send you this image, and you can hold on to it if you wish.
I will put that image as the shield.
God, it's so gaudy though. So people will be like, "What the heck? What the heck's up with that shield?"
I'll put both of our representations on the shields. So when you get to this part of the podcast, you will see why my weird leather hat face image isn't there, and War Queen's has changed slightly as well.
Like I like the pixel one. I would actually prefer if you keep using the pixel one because I actually think that came out pretty good. That was honestly a day of me working during a trip with a pixel editor on my phone, and I really liked how it turned out. Honestly, it's something that's changed a lot. Is I used to use the fleur de lis, and part of the as one of the charges because of fleur de lis, French connection. Son of my family is from France. Or is French, and but recently you have one of those days where it's like you have a wild hare and you chase it down. I did some digging into my family's family tree and my family's history, and one of the oldest ancestors I can find came from Czechoslovakia or the Czech Republic in the 1800s, and actually kind of came from the city of, let me see if I can find it again because it's Český Krumlov in the town in the South Bohemian region of the Czech Republic.
Okay.
And the symbol in that city's heraldry is the rose.
Yep.
And its flag. So I felt it was kind of it felt like a good connection to have.
Yeah. Now let's ground it back to medieval. Taking these two symbols now that we've created for ourselves, even though they're mine obviously is not particularly accurate to the time, but obviously if we were both lords or knights, so I would have that painted on my armor. If I had plate or helm, etc., whatever, I would have that painted on my armor, my shield. I would probably have a flag, a bannerman, who would have that heraldry on the flag, so that everybody knew who I was and could pretty much single me out in a crowd. But I would have the actual symbol, heraldry, coat of arms. Anyone else from my house, whether they were literally family or they were just people that were under me, working for me, they would have my colors. So they would be wearing clothing or armor painted in red and pink, or rose would be the more accurate word. And that would be pretty much it for them. They'd be wearing the color. For you, of course, they would be wearing colors of yellow, blue, and red.
It'd probably be like at the basic, it would probably be just the red and gold with the blue saltire without the without the engrailed, which I thought the term was scalloped, but because like a good example would be that would be the basic, be like, okay, and then as you get higher up on the totem pole, you'd see more and more details on that in that heraldry.
Exactly. And so say we're across the field, right? We're meeting, we're joining to make up whatever. Maybe we're battling, or maybe we're joining together as houses, right? And we're figuring that out. So let's take that scenario. Say we're marrying off our youngest firstborn.
Right.
And so I would pass down my heraldry to my youngest, well, I'll say son or daughter, whatever. And then they could use it, but they would have to change it slightly to be a signifier of who they are. But let's say,
well,
not
see, that's actually so.
Instance.
Real quick before there are terms for heraldry of children and family members. I think let me find it. There is a term for it. I think it's the label. And you see this, I think, in the Black Prince, cadency. There's the term. There are at least 9 images used as what is called marks of cadency, and they would go for your first son, your second son, your third son, etc., etc. You have a label of 3 points for your firstborn. You have a crescent, then you have a mullet or a star.
Yeah.
A martlet, an annulet, which is the martlet's a bird. An annulet is a circle of rings. You have the fleur de lis. You have a rose, a cross moline, which is a cross with 8 points. It's got the four arms of a cross, but the ends have points, and then an octofoil, which is exactly what it sounds like,
as opposed to a holofoil Pokemon card, which are way too expensive.
And then again, you also have technically I should be using a lozenge instead of a shield because I'm a woman and shields are war, and it's a man thing.
But of course, back then that would have been a thing.
Yeah.
Today, who cares? But so we come together. We're gonna marry off our kids, and we're gonna join houses.
Mm-hmm.
And so something that they could have done back then was quarter the heraldry. So I would, or maybe half, whichever we're doing here, right? But you would integrate that other family's coat onto yours, and sometimes you can quarter it. You can go even beyond quartering. You can half it, quarter, etc. And so I would basically integrate yours.
The technical term is quartering.
Yeah, but without any quarters or dimes. So I would integrate that onto my shield or my heraldry, and I would indicate that we've merged families.
Right, and that's how you end up with some really crazy shields, not just the flag, the English, the crest of it, the coat of arms of England example. Yeah. I think there's an example on Wikipedia, which is the 719 quarterings of George, Marquis of Buckingham. That's a lot.
Too many. Like I'd almost be like, you know what? I kind of like the design for me. I'd sort of like, maybe they can find their own and decide on their own if they want to divide it. I like what I have, which is kind of what it was. It's an individual marker. That is my symbol. That is your symbol. Nobody else can have that. You can pass it down, but that is your symbol.
Right.
So there are situations where you could quarter it or modify it, but effectively a herald is, like we said, expression of individualism.
Mm-hmm. And it's really neat. And then we're not even going into the things like the crests and the supporters, because those are kind of the medieval era kind of moved past the knight as the main method of war, I want to say. and everything became, they became more decorative. Then you started seeing the supporters and the crests and the mottos and everything. And then that's not even going into quote unquote Scottish clan heraldry, which is, as I mentioned before, hoo boy.
Yeah, all that stuff is completely optional. A lot of them may not have just had that at all. They could have been as simple as mine, or even simpler with just 2 colors or 1 color.
Like,
or as
I was gonna say, I don't know if you recall the shield I used in Bannockburn. It was the white, a shield white with a black saltier engrailed. That was actually the coat of arms of the head of the clan at the time, and because they were just knights, there wasn't, it wasn't this whole, oh well, there's a clan with the clan crest and the I should not be forgetting this word, the plaid. They were basically, they were knights. They were just kind of, the English considered them kind of backwater knights because they're Scottish. And that's actually part of the reason why I use the engrailed saltier in my coat of arms, because it's a connection. I like to think of it as it's a connection, because I can't straight up use that coat of arms. That's not mine to use.
Exactly.
But if somebody asks me, so what's the deal with this, this ordinary on your shield, I'd be like, oh, well, it's a connection to my family clan, more beyond the, I would say, highly commercialized current system, which I don't want to rag on. I like my crest. I like my badges, but it's just, it's something different,
Okay. Is there anything else we should cover in terms of medieval history with it? So then we'll cap it with that then. So that's kind of more of us rambling, I suppose.
Yeah.
Off the cuff in regards to medieval heraldry, coat of arms. There's not too much, but it is a nice thing to deep dives every now and then. Obviously, once we get into live action stuff, there'll be characters with heraldry and coat of arms that the actors themselves will make up. But that's something maybe to go down and jump off that bridge when we get to it. And otherwise, anything final to say?
I guess that's the point where we should talk about the sources we've got for this. So, of course, the first one, it is a book in the public domain. It's from Wikisource. It's currently I have it on Wikisource, which is the link I will give you. It is A Complete Guide to Heraldry by Arthur Charles Fox Davies, and this is from 1909. So this is why this is in the public domain and is easily accessible online. And I will put the link. I'll have all these links in the description. And there's a whole bunch of chapters on the origins, some of the ordinary, some of the charges, and it's definitely you got to sit down. It kind of feels really dense, but if you are super, want to learn more about heraldry, this is a good place to start, because this is a work that's cited a lot, and it's a good resource for some of the more traditional images you'll find in heraldry.
Right.
So the next source I would love to recommend is the drawshield.net. And this is the one I've used to create the shields we have today, the lion and yours with the moon. And like I said, this is a really cool one. This allows you to create from just you can either build from parts, where it's like you're going through a step by step. You start with the field. Is it a plain color? Is there a division? Is there a fur or something that didn't come up? Treatments, which is it's like furs on crack, honestly.
Right.
Or then you go, you go from your divisions to, or, is there an ordinary? Are there charges? Are there charges that are arranged on an ordinary? So, and as you build, it gives you the description in text, so you can, like I said, here's for mine, a shield ore, a saltier ore, and ghouls, a saltier engrailed azure.
Mhm.
So if you really want to learn those terms for it, it's really good. And they have a lot of great resources, a lot of basic resources, and there's galleries of people building their own shields with crests, and so it's really cool. It's a really good resource.
Yeah.
And the last is, of course, heraldicart.org, which is a compilation from this is from their website, a compilation of armorial illustrations intended. It's for the SCA, intended to facilitate design, device, and badge design. And it's a really good one because it goes through all of these charges, and it gives you the source of it, and if they can, the artist of it. So these are really, I want to say these are 3 really good resources if you're starting just playing around with myth building, with blazoning, coat of arms. That's weird.
Indeed. And if y'all have reached this far in the podcast,
Woo!
put down below what yours is in terms of description. And then, yeah.
Tell us about it. Tell us about it. I'd love to hear about it.
Indubitably.
I really enjoy Heraldry, and I hope we can go forward a little in the future to talk about, because we kind of did when we talked in Game of Thrones. We talked about some of the heraldry of Westeros, but there's so much heraldry that's used in all kinds of popular culture, and sometimes there's reason behind it. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes it's just, hey, this looks cool as heck.
Indeed. So this is NC. We'll go ahead and cap it off here. And I am here, of course, with
Red Iron Riot, aka the War Queen, your friendly neighborhood weasel.
Bippity Bob.